Today, we are going to look at 2020 migration patterns across the U.S. Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. Today is the 11th of January. Randy Patrick here, putting the realism back in real estate. A little bit of a chaotic past week and weekend, but let's get back into some normal real estate discussion. So if you recall, we spoke about some emerging markets last video, so we're going to get into some more of the migration stuff happening, which will support some of those positions or interests in various locations across the country here. But first of all, if you're not already a subscriber to this channel, please do me a big solid favor and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. So today we're talking about what? Migration patterns of people around the country. So typically what we see is, what we look at is we kind of rely upon U-Haul of all, I guess you could say, of all things, to sort of tell us where people are going, which is kind of interesting if you think about it, right? Because U-Haul, what do? They rent vehicles, they rent trailers, they rent trucks, the whole bit. So on the last video I did with emerging trends, we did a little snapshot here. This is from John Burns Consulting. They kind of put this on a map. You could see where people, the red dots are where people are leaving. The green dots are where people are going to. Now, just realize that red dots does not necessarily mean that price points are dropping with real estate. It just shows that people are leaving those locations, or like I guess you could say the U-Haul, U-Haul trucks, trailers, whatever, leaving those locations are greater than the ones coming into play, coming back to those cities. So just that's kind of what we're looking at here, but it does not reflect price points. But though we can take a look at price points could be affected by migration. So ultimately, what it pulls down to, they produced this for 2020, and Tennessee claims the #1 spot for the first time. Texas in top 2 for 5th straight in the year. So basically, the volunteer state, which is Tennessee, of course, posted the largest net gain of U-Haul trucks crossing its borders in 2020, making it the #1 U-Haul growth state for the first time. So growth states are calculated by the net gain of one-way U-Haul trucks entering the state versus leaving the state in a calendar year. Migration trends data is compiled from more than 2 million one-way U-Haul truck customer transactions that occur annually. Okay, so that's a pretty substantial number they're using as their sort of, I guess, an analyst sort of base. 2 million transactions, pretty substantial. All right. So anyway, that's the scoop on that. So, ultimately in the end, Tennessee, influx of do-it-yourself movers and, is marked by the coronavirus pandemic, means a state other than Florida or Texas tops the growth rankings for the first time in 2015 when North Carolina led the way. So basically what it boils down to is that, U-Haul customers made Texas and Florida the top 2 destinations from 2016 to 2019. Texas had the largest gain of one-way U-Haul trucks for 3 consecutive years before Florida flipped the order and became #1 last year. Texas is second for growth, Florida's third this year. So really, Ohio, Arizona, Colorado, Missouri, Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia were around the top 10. And we'll go into that in a second here. We'll go through all the 50 states. Kind of interesting to see how this all plays out. But again, we just sort of look at it going, this seems to be like the Bible, I guess you could say. California ranks last by a large margin. So when you take a look at what's going on here, whether it's price motivation, political motivation, job motivation, pandemic motivation, looking for more space, motivation, leaving the urban core, wanting a different lifestyle motivation. I mean, there's tons of it. Certain states have obviously higher taxation, so and now you can't deduct as much as on your mortgage and interest and taxes, on your income tax. So there's probably a lot of factors that go into people relocating. I just am amazed that U-Haul has 2 million 2 million points of data that they can look at, which is pretty substantial. But again, Tennessee, I believe is a no tax state. It's relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of locations, and it has a lot of nice like it got some hills, got some mountains, got some nice cities. So it's pretty. Memphis, Chattanooga, Nashville. There's a lot of stuff going on there in Tennessee. So it's an up and coming state, and I think people are becoming attracted to different lifestyles and different places to live right now, which is kind of cool. So let's take a look at some more of the data here. We've got. It says here, while U-Haul migration tends not to correlate directly to population or economic growth, the company's growth data is an effective gauge of how well cities and states are attracting and maintaining residents, which I do agree. So let's go through this right now, and we'll match up. So Tennessee was the number one state. Now so of course the ranking is migration growth. So it's from ascending to, so we're working our way down. We're descending. The numbers in parentheses in brackets beside the state is where it ranked last year. So Tennessee has the number one, we'll call it U-Haul migration. Texas is number two, okay, and it's been, as they said, number two for a number of years in a row. Florida was number three, which is number one last year. Ohio actually jumped from 7 to 4. Arizona jumped up to number 5. It was 20 last year. Colorado jumped up to number 6. So I know that people are showing, again, this is the state, not necessarily Denver. For example, there's other spots of Colorado people are growing to. Missouri is up from number 13. Nevada went up from number 24 to number 8. North Carolina's up there. It actually dropped from number 3. And Georgia went up from number 10 to number 16. So interesting, but you can see where the top 10 rounds out. Then you got Arkansas, so you got the state of Arkansas going up from 23. Indiana dropping a little bit. Wisconsin going up from 41 to 13. Oklahoma just remaining the same. South Carolina doing a big drop there from 4 to 15. West Virginia's moving its way up. Utah dropping to 17. Kentucky moving up to 18. Montana moving up, clearly. We know what goes on in Boise and that's Idaho, sorry, but other places in Montana too. People are liking that sort of, more space and different lifestyle living out there. Minnesota dropped a little bit, so we're seeing people leave. And as I always mentioned earlier, we don't know the motivation, and we know this 2020 was a very weird year, and I'm not making commentary on politics or anything about this, but just the result of a lot of things is making people decide, maybe I don't need to live here anymore, maybe I want to go someplace else for different lifestyle reasons, whatever that may be. So I'm just gonna I just in turn notice certain states dropping etc. But the whole point, okay, Kansas dropped a little bit there. Alabama dropped, which is interesting there. They were number 6 last year. New Hampshire gained a little bit. Iowa gained a little bit. South Dakota gained a little bit. Vermont dropped from 10 to 26. Delaware dropped to 27. Virginia's up to number 28. Maine dropped a little bit. And Idaho actually dropped from 11 to number 30. Now, I don't know whether this is a factor of, hey, price points are now too expensive there. Like, this is where, everyone knows that the Idaho area has been, great relocation from people on the West Coast. Maybe it slowed down this year, and is it price point? Could prices be, are the market's getting saturated, less opportunity there, less inventory, and price points rising on homes, so therefore maybe migration is going to slow down. So I'm sure everything is a moving target here. Mississippi down a little bit, Nebraska down as well, Wyoming down slightly, Alaska down actually from 17 to 34. Rhode Island remains about the same. Washington as a state dropped from 5 to number 36. North Dakota dropped from 22 to 37. Washington, D.C., again, remains static at 38. New Mexico up a little bit from, down a little bit from 36. And Michigan is up from number 40. From number 48 from last year. Pennsylvania up slightly. New York tends to remain, well, it moved up a point. Connecticut dropped down a little bit here. Louisiana dropped down as well. Oregon dropped down. Maryland pretty much dropped down at 1 point. Massachusetts stayed the same. New Jersey dropped. Illinois is 49. And California is number 50. So, when you take a look at some of the locations, I want to look at a New Jersey, that people are leaving New Jersey definitely for price point and taxation reasons. Now, this is what's going on now, but however, as this 2021 comes through, and as some of the market opens up with respect to all these foreclosures and things like that, we may see some shifting. And what I mean by that is when states have an enormous amount of foreclosure filings and eventually foreclosure sales, which could be distressed properties, et cetera, down the road, that may open up some inventory and we could see some changes in some of the relocation trends that are going on. So Jersey obviously is a big one. Illinois is skipping places with California. Illinois, there's a lot of people leaving Illinois. We get a lot of them down here where I'm in Florida. We know that Illinois has high taxes, higher than average price points, a lot of uncertainty in the state, and just really it's the way the state is managed. Apparently, pension issues, the whole bit, so people are leaving in droves. And obviously California, which, again, Illinois and California are always kind of in the bottom area anyway. California is the number one location where people are leaving, or at least from U-Haul's perspective. It's one way. In other words, I'm getting a truck and I'm leaving California and I'm not coming back. So that's how they're I guess using the metric on this to figure out where people are going. So ultimately, California is at the last place there. We know because we've seen price points change that Californians are going, up the coast. They're going inland to the north as well, to the Montanas and the Idahos, to Utah, going into Nevada, going into Phoenix. A lot of people are going to Texas. Texas seems to be one of those locations which it's becoming kind of a new tech hub in various cities across the state. And we're seeing a lot more wealthy people relocate there, and we're seeing a lot more tech companies going, you know what, we can, and financial companies too, we can establish offices in different locations other than the West Coast due to price points and due to cost of living and due to tax deals. So I look at it going, your top locations really of where we see stuff happening or movement happening. Obviously, we've got Tennessee and Texas, number 2, Florida, number 3, Ohio, Arizona, Colorado, Missouri, Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia. So I look at it from my perspective. I see a lot of people, and I'm talking real estate people. This is from my personal connections, intel, etc. I see a lot of real estate people that I'm connected with, and these are smart people. These are well-off people. These are people that participate in the business, and they're leaving California. People are relocating to Florida right now. So of course, we're going to see a boom market start up again here. And when I sort of put this in perspective, people are like, where should I invest? What should I do? Well, this is all intellectual data that we can use. So it's very clear where people are going. So if you want to, for me, it's like find out where people are going, figure out the distressed property market opportunities, and jump in there. That's what you really have to do. Certain locations, obviously Tennessee, North Carolina, Texas, the Florida areas, you're going to see great opportunities for real estate investment, whether that's fix and flipping, whether that's having rental properties, clearly single family rent, whether you want to do multifamily, whatever it is, people are moving. Now, we don't know the demographic. When I mean the demographic, we don't know, are they renter demographic? Are they single family home demographic? Are they for a short time, or they're going to stay for a number of years? So we don't know that. We're just going on 2 million, we'll call it U-Haul transactions that occurred in 2020. But if you take a look at sort of where this all ranks out, I think that, it actually is pretty substantial information to kind of plan where you could figure stuff out. If you go back to my last video, when you take a look at the emerging trends, a lot of these locations, the top 10 are, some of the cities are in the top 10, 25, top 50 on the emerging trend stuff I just spoke about as well too. So everything's starting to line up. So that's the scoop on this. What is the plan here? Well, as I mentioned, there's properties available right now. So people saying, I can't find homes. I get it. You can't find retail homes. Retail homes are priced very high for a number of reasons, which we talk about all the time. What's going to happen this year? I'm trying to figure that out right now. However, there still is and are distressed sale opportunities. You just have to know where to look and how to engage them. So if you want to figure that out, please drop me a line. I'm going to be getting back to a lot of people this week. I'm seeing some new trends right now in my area and kind of what's starting to work out there again. what's working to make additional money in real estate. I also opening up some access to some off-market real estate-owned properties. So some deals we're working on and trying to move that forward as well too. So again, it's this distressed world. So distressed isn't on market. Distress is off market. You have to get it to bring it on market. Thus the challenge, and that's why when people ask questions, you go, I can't find short sales or foreclosures in my market. It's because they're not on market. They're not rising to the surface. The only way they rise to the surface is when you spend a little time and effort to connect with the distressed people and do deals, which is what I teach and what I advocate. So for cheaper property. So having said that, please reach out to me if you have to. Connect with me. I'll tell you all about what we're doing here. That's my email. Send me your information and your phone number. We'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Those of you, a lot of people connected over the past week. I'm trying to get back to people. Obviously, I understand, where, people want to buy cheap homes, and we're doing the best we can to sort of facilitate that for the knowledge base for people who want to know. Anyway, guys, next video, we're going to look at rental rates, because I look at the emerging market trends and this U-Haul stuff and where rental prices are going. That really, I think, will tie everything together with respect to what's happening in the real estate world the next few months. All right, guys, so take care. We'll look forward to speaking with you in a couple days.